When did you finally give up on your parents? I was born when my parents were already in their mid-40s, and my siblings were practically adults. My brother was 17, and my sister was 15 when I came along. So by the time I was old enough to remember anything, they were already out of the house living their own lives. My parents never said I was a mistake, but they didn't have to because the exhaustion on their faces whenever I needed something said it loud enough. I spent my whole childhood trying to earn the kind of love my siblings got without trying. I made honor roll every semester because I thought academic achievement would finally get their attention. I joined every extracurricular that had a parent night or award ceremony because I thought maybe this time they would show up and sit in those metal folding chairs and clap when my name was called. I became the easiest kid in the world because I thought if I never caused any problems and never asked for anything, they might eventually look at me the way they looked at my brother and sister in all those old photo albums. I was 16 years old and still waiting for a moment that was never going to come, but I didn't know that yet. I was in gym class on a Tuesday in October when the pain hit me like someone had shoved a hot knife into my side. One second I was running laps, and the next second I was on the floor unable to breathe while the coach screamed for someone to call 911. The ambulance ride was a blur of fluorescent lights and strangers asking me questions I couldn't even answer, because every time I tried to speak, another wave of agony crashed through my body. They told me later that my appendix had been just hours away from rupturing, and that if the coach had waited any longer to make that call, I probably would have died right there on the gymnasium floor. I went into emergency surgery alone because nobody could reach my parents, and I woke up from emergency surgery alone because apparently nobody kept trying. The recovery room was cold and white and silent, except for the steady beeping of machines I didn't understand, and I just lay there staring at the ceiling tiles because I didn't know what else to do. A nurse came to check on me every hour, and by the fourth visit she started bringing me extra pudding cups and telling me I was being so brave, which I knew was hospital code for feeling sorry for me because no one had come. 6 hours I waited in that bed for my family to walk through the door. 6 hours of watching the clock on the wall and telling myself they were probably stuck in traffic, or maybe their phones had died, or maybe the hospital had written down the wrong number. 6 hours of making excuses for people who never made any for me. Then I heard footsteps pounding down the hallway and voices I recognized, and the door flew open so hard it slammed against the wall behind it. My mom rushed in first with tears streaming down her face, and my dad was right behind her looking pale and terrified, and my sister came through carrying a bouquet of flowers and a balloon that said, "Get well soon." My mom ran to my bedside and grabbed my face in both her hands and looked at me with more genuine emotion than I had seen from her in my entire life. She was sobbing so hard she could barely speak when she said, "Oh my God, sweetheart, are you okay? We came as fast as we could. The hospital kept calling and calling." I started crying too because this was finally the moment I had been waiting for my entire life, and my chest felt like it was going to explode with the overwhelming joy of finally being seen and loved by my own family. Then my mom stopped and looked around the room with confusion on her face like she was searching for something she had expected to find. She pulled back from me and asked, "Wait, where's your brother?" I didn't understand why she was asking about him when I was the one lying in the hospital bed. She asked again with panic rising in her voice. "The hospital said someone in the family needed emergency surgery, so where is he? Is he still in the operating room?" My stomach dropped through the floor as I finally understood what was happening. I said, "It was me. I was the one in emergency surgery. My appendix almost burst and I could have died." Every single ounce of emotion drained from her face like someone had pulled a plug. She stepped back from my bed and straightened her shirt and said, "Oh, your brother was having his knee scoped today, so I assumed it was him." My dad was already pulling out his phone to find out which room my brother was actually in. My mom reached over and took the flowers right out of my sister's hands and said, "These were for your brother anyway," before tucking them under her arm and heading for the door. My sister dropped the balloon string as she turned to follow them out, and the door clicked shut behind them, and the balloon drifted slowly up toward the ceiling of my empty room. I just lay there for a long time, not sure what I was supposed to do with that.